it's, first year back on this staff, but just in terms of incoming guys, freshmen, transfers, who are a couple guys that just stuck out to each of you?
I would say, on the freshman front, Cam Tilley's done a really nice job. Griffin Graves, Trevor Booton's done a good job. He's done some good things. Carson Myers, transfer. Connor McBride, JUCO that we got in. I think those guys, first thought come to mind as guys who've really, done a nice job throughout the fall and in the spring here, and should get some really solid innings.
Jason. Foxwell, what's it like to be back here and part of this staff? I know it's a group of guys you're familiar with, and you had in Everett. I mean, it's a really strong mix. But what's it like being back at Auburn again?
I'm very grateful to be back. It's Auburn's always had a special place in my heart. Both my parents went here. I've had a couple stints here before. I went to school here, played for Coach Baird. They're just, it's been great being back. And then our current staff, the people that we have on the staff are second to none in the coaching realm, but also as human beings. So it's just been fun coming to work every day with these guys. So I'm very grateful to be back at Auburn.
Right.
Yeah, Coach Teef, Butch talked a couple weeks ago about Joseph Gonzalez getting the feel in his slider back. How have you seen that progress over the last couple weeks?
Yeah, it's definitely coming along. We obviously held him back a little bit just to kind of ramp up through season, and you could tell there was some rust. Hadn't pitched since obviously early last year, but it's gotten a lot better. Command of the fastball has gotten better. The sink to the fastball has gotten a lot better, and just really the refinement of his game, getting back to pitching and facing hitters. He's done a really nice job every outing, doing a little more than he did the last time, just to continue to improve as we lead into opening weekend.
And is this the weekend you kind of set your pitching up for opening weekend, and how is that looking right now as far as starters?
I wouldn't say that we've 100% said anything. The one I would say strength of our staff is our depth, and I think we've got a lot of different guys that are gonna contribute in big ways. So we haven't necessarily said anything in stone, but I think we've got a lot of guys that can handle a lot of roles. So I think we're very lucky in that sense.
Coach Foxhall, you talked about being back. The changes that have been made, I guess, to the facilities and what's being done now. Just how do you feel about the direction of Auburn baseball?
Auburn baseball is in great hands, and I think that with everything that's being done with the facilities, it's going to put us on more of an even playing field with the rest of the league. So we're excited about that in the recruiting world, and for our current student athletes, that they're going to have the best in the country and on par with the rest of the league.
Coach Steve, working with the White Sox in player development and then now coming to college, how have you had to do things differently with the different kind of demands and expectations of amateur athletes versus professional athletes?
I wouldn't say as far as dealing with the athletes or just necessarily people in general. Obviously, I worked with a lot of our Latin kids that are even younger than these guys. I would say the difference, probably the biggest thing, is the time restraints with the NCAA, and that's not necessarily in a bad way or I guess in a good way either. But you don't think about, wow, we're up against the clock and this inter squad's gotta end here in 10 minutes. So that's been the one thing in pro ball. It's kind of like, hey, we're going to be out here till the sun goes down until we get it right, if we have to be. So I would say that's been the biggest change. But really dealing with people, I mean, we had high school draft picks that we paid millions of dollars to. So, I mean, a lot of it is the same, and it's just treating people, like they are and just kind of being good to them.
Matt.
Just following up on that, to come from the professional ranks to college, why was this a fit for you? Obviously, it's more responsibility in terms of the actual title of the job, but why make this move to a college team?
I would say Butch. It all kind of starts with him and just the culture he's built at this program. He's been incredibly successful since he's gotten here. I think that was obviously very alluring. Having 3 kids and traveling a lot on the pro side wasn't super ideal. But I would say it starts with Butch and just the quality of the program, the quality of the people around here, being from Georgia. I knew about Auburn and had a lot of friends that went here, and just the great things they said about, being here. And so I think it was just kind of a culmination of everything, but I would say Butch is obviously number one.
Brian?
Yeah, Coach Steve, what do you like about Will Cannon potentially being a closer type, his stuff, his mentality, and who else do you like sort of at the end of the games?
Will's a bulldog. He always wants the ball. I think in those moments when we've seen him in shorter stints, everything ticks up. His changeup has been really good. I think that's the one thing that might help. Against a multitude of lineups, his slider's gotten better. So really, just the mentality when you look at that, plus the uptick in stuff. I mean, it's nice to have him kind of back there, and then. The kind of going off of the depth of our staff, we kind of have a little bit of a toolbox where we got, a little of everything that can, we could play, matchups in different situations to try to keep everybody fresh throughout the year. That we've got a lot of guys we feel very confident in that can pitch at the back end of the game, depending on, lineup, construction, and what's coming up. So we're very fortunate in that situation.
Coach Foxhall, what does it mean to have a guy like Bobby Pierce as a leader, as an outfielder defender, his big arm, and of course his bat in the lineup too?
In this league, I'm old, so I've been in this league a lot. Experience is almost as important as talent, and sometimes it shows itself to be even more valuable. So to have a guy that's been through the battles and can talk to the younger guys and lead from his experience perspective is invaluable on this team, and he's done a great job up to this point of doing that, and we're going to lean on him heavily this year.
Adam?
Teef, we were talking to Bobby the other day, and he was talking about just sort of with the depth of talent, and especially with the younger guys. Like in the past, there have been really talented young guys or talented freshmen, but the big thing that he kind of said was that a lot of the freshmen on this team don't feel like freshmen. They're mature, experienced. How much do you see that with some of the freshmen that you've got on staff?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe even Fox can answer that, have been in the college ranks a little more, but, a lot of them were in summer school, and I think that really helps springboard them, even if it's just like figuring their way around campus, little stuff that maybe seems small, like just being a step ahead of that. Being here working out and kind of getting a feel for the university, I think really kind of springboarded them because they've been here since really I was hired, it feels like. So I would say that's kind of just their familiarity and just being around, I think, helped them in the fall. And they've done a good job of throwing strikes, which I think, that might be where the freshmen, struggle more than really overall ability. And they've really shown a lot of confidence and moxie on the mound. So I think those two things kind of lead you to think that they're a little more mature than where they're at. I don't know your take, but
yeah, I agree. They've been very businesslike and when they've shown up, and I think it starts with our older guys. It's just the culture, and it goes even back to what Teef said about the culture that Butch has built here, and the guys that have been here are really good teachers to the guys that have come in. So when Bobby says that, I don't know if he understands that he should feel like he's responsible for that, because I think the older guys have taught the younger guys how to mature faster and have shown them the way at a good pace. So yeah, they do feel older, and they have been more responsible than probably your typical freshman.
Jeff?
Everett, speaking of experience, how nice has it been to have Coach Foxhall there with the seasoning that he's had? He's been through a bunch of SEC seasons to lean on, maybe be a sounding board throughout the season.
I don't think we have enough time to really be able to truly articulate how fortunate and lucky and blessed I've been to have him. Just to lean on him and, through days where I'm racking my brain, like, what do you see and what could I be doing better? What, from the college side, what things did you do to have that resource literally staring me right in the face across from my desk has been just a godsend. When we were talking about hiring him, I told Butch, I was like, yes, like he fills in my gaps, not having been in the college ranks, and I've just been so dang lucky to have him as a sounding board when things are good, when things are bad, when things are in the middle. So I can't thank him enough for the help and guidance that he's given me.
And Scott, I wanted to ask you about what you've seen in someone who's new in this role at the college level and emerging, I guess, in his career as opposed to somebody who's more seasoned like yourself. What do you see in him?
Well, I think I've benefited from Teef just as much as he's benefited from me. He is the new age pitching coach. I mean, that's why Butch brought him here, and that's why he's done such a good job with our guys. We've had technology around for a while that old school coaches, and I'll put myself in that category, maybe didn't understand it quite as much or understood it but didn't know how to teach from it. And coming from professional baseball, where he used it on a daily basis with so many people in an organization, Teef is an expert at using the technology, and he's great at teaching with the technology. So I've benefited from learning from him, I'm sure more than he's benefited from learning from me, and our guys the same way. And hopefully I can just be here and help him learn from all my mistakes that I've made. That's how I feel like what I do in the office every day is hopefully he's learned from the mistakes that I've made, and I think we're a good team together.
Right. Scott, you were, I guess, obviously I feel like your ties are more strong here, but I mean, you coming from Starkville in the last job, there's so many Mississippi State ties here. You won a national championship there, John Cohen's here, Brett Hobart's here, Bush was there at one point. Have you seen any ties from that program that's one of the winningest in the history of the sport kind of move toward Auburn and maybe have any influence on Auburn with all those voices that are now in the room from Starkville?
Yeah, again, it's culture, and like we talked about with the facilities, Auburn's in good hands. With the facilities, it's in good hands because John Cohen's here, and he's got vision, and he's a great leader, and he brought a lot of the best people from Mississippi State to Auburn, so to help continue to build this culture. So yeah, I see it every day, and as we all know, Butch came from that culture, and he's certainly his first 8 years has brought that over here, and I see a lot of the similarities of why Mississippi State had a strong baseball program prevalent in the Auburn culture now.
Jason?
And I know we don't have 3 hours that would probably take to answer this question, but can you give us a 10,000 foot view of kind of that analytic side of things? I know y'all bringing some new things to Auburn, and kind of how you use that, not necessarily as the only tool, but as part of a toolbox for pitching.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just knowing guys a little bit more in depth and trying to really get them to have confidence in their strengths. It's probably looked at as maybe way more in depth than it truly is, but just trying to know what a guy does well definitively, not just I think this, I think that. It's like, hey, this is you against the rest of the SEC or Division I in general. And then some of the biomechanical stuff is we're just trying to keep guys at their best. It's not necessarily like super rocket science. It can be hard to coach, but at least we're taking all of the information in and trying to get the best out of players and get them to understand why they are here and why they can be the best, and try to build the confidence within themselves to go out and perform and not have any reservations in the back of their mind when they're in big situations. So I really think it's just utilizing all the information to try to make them understand why they are who they are and what their strengths are.
Yeah, we talked to Chase also, but he said the biggest difference for him is learning how to use the numbers. Is that the thing you're talking about, trying to teach them, hey, here's what it is and this is why it's important?
Yeah, exactly. And Chase is a prime example of a guy who's got really good stuff, and I think he's grown. I would like to think since at least we've presented him different ideas and in different ways. Yeah, I mean it's really just trying to get them to be their best and show them ways that they can perform and why the ideas are strong, and it's backed in information, not as much of one-off anecdotal ideas, I guess.
Anybody else? All right, thanks everybody.